And I believe we are now live. So say hello, everyone.
Hello to the people.
Hello to the people. Now we are live. This is the Geek Battle show here on the Extreme Improv Extreme channel, as well as the Geek Battle YouTube channel. Smash the subscribe button, whichever platform you're watching us on. Also on all the Facebook pages and stuff like that. Now on the show tonight, we have Nick. Say hello to the people. And if you have a random geek trivia fact, let it be known.
Hello to the people. The random trivia fact is... No, I don't have one this week. Sorry.
Oh, -1 point. Gerald, say hello to the people.
Hello, everybody. This is not necessarily a fact. Well, it is a
oh
geek fact,
-1 point. I got it.
It's not trivia. So Aardman Animation, the people, so for Americans, the people that did Chicken Run, and also if you saw Wallace and Gromit, but for the British, they definitely know Aardman. They potentially are having issues with their clay. The company that made the clay, called Lewis Newplast, was only made by that factory and recently closed down. They bought up all the limited stock. However, right now, without a solution, they may only have enough material for their upcoming Wallace and Gromit feature. And so they're looking for somebody else to create their clay for them.
That's so bizarre. Like, when you say clay, right? Do you in the States, do you call it plasticine?
No, we call it clay.
Yeah, I mean, technically you're correct. It's plasticine that they use, but I guess in this article it was talking about, well, they said material. In my mind, I call it clay because it's referred to as claymation, even though it's not technically clay.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow, like, there must be loads of places that makes plasticine, though, right?
I would imagine, and I don't know, it doesn't really specify like what it is with that specific mixture or recipe or whatever, but it was when I saw that, I was blown away. It was earlier this week.
I bet if I do a little bit of sleuthing, I can find it on Amazon. So we're gonna save
I wonder if it's also the same
animation.
I wonder if it's the same plasticine or clay that they use for Celebrity Deathmatch.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Maybe.
That's plasticine as well.
So the other thing I want to do is I want to show off a couple of cool things that I made. So this is the power sword from Mega Bloks power sword. So like Lego, but different. And then the other one I just made too is the Skeletor staff.
That is awesome. So, okay, when you say you made them, are these 3D printed?
Well, actually, sorry. They are, so Mega Bloks, or Mega Constructs it's called, is like a Lego-like block. It's a competitor of Lego. So it was all, all the pieces were prefabbed and the design for it. But yeah, this one was, I think, about 800 pieces and the other one was about 700 pieces. And I think it probably took me about 3-ish hours or so to make each of them. So.
Wow, that is really cool. That is really cool. I've got, like, I was just looking. I usually am never far from a He-Man sword. I do have a couple knocking. I'm not even joking. I have a couple. I've got like one that's about like that big, and then I have like a big one that lights up, but it's not. It doesn't. It's like one of the garbage new He-Man things. So that is awesome. Yeah, nice. You get a bonus point for that, Gerald. Tim, say hello to the people and give us a random geek trivia fact.
Hello to the people from a parking lot in Newton, Mass. I was going to go down like a Warhammer 40K route, but I'm going to save that for Capelfave if he's showing up at any point. I will say, however, that there are, in terms of like, you heard you talking about plasticine and clay, and I wanted to go down a little rabbit hole with construction materials, and that in concrete, the curing process, as it begins to harden and become like a solid, it gives off carbon dioxide. But if you use a different version of concrete where a material in it is hemp, which is sort of linked to the cannabis plant, it actually takes carbon dioxide from the air as it cures. So as it gets hardened and becomes more of like a construction material, mainly for like insulation in dry climate. It actually takes concrete. It actually takes CO2, and I don't know if they're using it in like space age materials or anything like that, but it'd be interesting to see how those two different kinds of construction materials could be used and utilized in a place like Mars.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Okay, that would be an interesting thing to explore. Now, just very quickly on this note of plasticine, I've found Amazon, and they have plasticine right here,
Oh wow!
and you can get like a whole bucket of it for $6.95. So I'm gonna write to the Aardman company,
There you go.
just check this out. Let's give it a quick look, guys.
Now,
Yeah,
what's the difference between the two?
not a clue.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I think if nothing else, if there's going to be a gap in the market, we should create the next Wallace and Gromit or the next Chicken Run. We'll design it mostly after ourselves. I'm not going to lie, and we'll go on adventures.
So
I like
it would be a wrestling loving comedian, a dude that loves Batman way too much, a cynical rat bastard American, and Tim.
And Tim. I love it.
Is this thing on?
Oh, great stuff. Okay, now, guys, so we can play a couple of games and stuff along the way. But is there any stuff that you've seen that you want to react to, or any stuff like this?
I saw Blue Beetle. I liked it. It's to me, it wasn't a movie that was for like a massively wide audience, but I enjoyed it and I thought it was pretty good overall. I mean, it's got pretty much your typical superhero story.
Wait, did you say a massively white audience?
No, wide.
That's what I thought. I was just like,
wide.
this isn't a movie for a massively white audience. Don't see it, guys. I was like, really?
Cholo, Madrileña.
But actually, to that point, I mean, there is a lot, and I don't mean this negatively, but there is a lot of Spanish, and I believe there's another language, and I can't remember what it is now. Anyway, it's got subtitles and stuff, but it's I enjoyed it.
Cobra Kai, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the kid from Cobra Kai, and he's awesome in it.
Cholo Madrileña, who I'm a big fan of his because he also plays Magic the Gathering, and he's on one of my favorite Magic the Gathering YouTube shows that I watch.
Oh, I thought you were going to be like one of my favorite teams. I was like, get him on the show, right?
But yeah, I mean, overall, it was entertaining. I enjoyed it. Again, fairly common sort of hero origin story and whatnot. I don't know how true it is to the comics or not, but I liked it. I think it sort of got like a bad rap and stuff from the DC shows, and it pretty much could be standalone. They also could tie it in if they wanted to. It really doesn't have much direct connection to the DCU or whatever they're calling it.
Signs that any of the like Justice League exist in that world?
They allude to, I think, a couple different ones, but there's no. I don't remember seeing any of them. And for some reason, I think they do allude to something. There is, there's a spoiler. Well, I don't think it's a spoiler. So it refers to the old Blue Beetle, and he's somehow intertwined into it. But it's basically like a new superhero origin story. They do make it feel a lot like Spider-Man,
Sure.
Right, Wrong, or Indifferent. But again, I thought it was pretty entertaining. The special effects were okay. They were way better than The Flash, but that's not necessarily saying much. Yeah, I enjoyed it.
So if I've never seen the Blue Beetle story, I know a little bit about the character, but not very much. Would it be like a good starting off point to get to know the character?
Well, it is definitely. So they re-released the comic book, and they started off with a Hispanic-based character. So the movie and the comic book, which were actually the series started up again, were released about the same time. And what's interesting is they definitely are targeting the Hispanic and Spanish-speaking crowd because they have an English and they were also releasing a Spanish version of each issue thus far.
It-
But it was good.
Cool.
Here's a question, right?
I can get behind
a
that
lot
all
of these
day.
modern superhero films, why is it that they are introducing a character where there is like a previous version of them in the backstory? So, like you mentioned about Ant-Man, it's like, well, so there's Paul Rudd, but then there was Michael Douglas, who was already Ant-Man. It's like, well, why not tell that character's story? And in Captain Marvel, there was Marvel, and there's loads of them where it's like, oh, well, you're not the first. And like Black Adam, it was like his kid was Black Adam or whatever first, and yeah, they're all so many of them. It's like there was a previous superhero that we're just not going to explore at all.
Mhm. My assumption is, and I don't think it's bad doing this and having like more inclusive characters and stuff, but I think it's a nod to the older characters, which were primarily white men for the most part,
Sure.
and then
Right,
it's
so you're saying I was
looking
right
at
with
the
what I
newer
said. It's like it's
diverse
not
characters.
it's not for a wide audience. All right, I
Well,
see.
Well, that's
Right.
yes. So
Wow.
yeah.
Okay.
So look, Hank Pym, who is the character that Michael Douglas plays in
Yeah, exactly. Hank Pym,
Ant-Man.
like, how dare they have like that
Well,
white guy
Hank
in it?
Pym
Like,
is
throw him
older.
run instead.
When they mention him in the comics, he was already an older guy, like he was 40 or 50, which is
Ugh.
my age now. I hate to say that.
Wait, you're which are you, 40 or 50?
Right there in the middle.
Your choice. I'm
Okay.
in that range. I'll tell you guys that much.
Okay, that's cool. Tim,
Hank Pym, Batman, Blue Beetle, at least the Ted Cord Blue Beetle. All billionaires, all rich, all white dudes.
yeah.
Maybe they have room for a prequel, but if you're trying to, expand your market to more than just that, makes sense to get some of the characters. However, I think you should also support the creators in those creative culture spaces too. Not just be like, oh well, it's not some Disney executive or HBO executive being like, hey, oh, let's change the language up and that'll be the problem we solve. I don't know.
Yeah, true. Like, there's room for like new characters and stuff. That
Yeah.
might be like a way that they sort of still keep it their character though.
But look at how Star Wars started. I mean, we got Obi-Wan Kenobi showed up first. He was the old man. And then, Luke Skywalker shows up, but Obi-Wan Kenobi's right there. So it's almost kind of the same thing in a way.
Well,
It
no,
did
no.
allow for prequels and sequels.
Yoda was the old man in Star Wars.
All right, that's true.
The older old
Okay,
man.
so what was the deal with Star Wars? Where like the first one was obviously the first one, but then like they're like, okay, so the next one is number 5. Like, who goes that deep into saying like, yeah,
They
there's
did
number
the
3
same
films,
thing with the
next?
fucking Godfather. And
The Godfather.
I love the
I
Godfather.
don't remember seeing Godfather episode 6.
But the Godfather, if you watch it in the correct chronological order, it is Godfather Part 2, then The Godfather, then The Godfather Part 3, I believe.
Are you sure about that? Because I thought, and it's been a while since I've seen the Godfather trilogy, but I thought Pacino's character was the main character in Godfather Part 2, which would have been after the first one.
Then I just have my numbers wrong.
I don't know. So
because I know that in one of them you see the Godfather coming from Italy, which is the old Godfather who we see in Part 1. So it's got to be 3, 1, 2 is the correct order. Then I'm sorry, I just was thinking I also haven't seen all of them in a decade.
Yep.
Luckily, it's Thanksgiving, so that'll probably be on TV for the next 4 days.
I also watched all of Lord of the Rings in one sitting. 12 hours of Lord of the Rings is too fucking long.
No,
you need to see the expanded versions that are
we
like 8
watched the
hours
expanded
each.
version.
I desperately
We
want
started
to
at
do that.
9:30 in the morning on Saturday, and we left at 9:30 p.m. that same day.
I really want to do the expanded Hobbits followed by the expanded Lord of the Rings, which has to be the correct way of doing it, because otherwise everyone's going to check out. By the time you've watched 3 Hobbit films, then you'll be like, finally, we can watch the good ones. Right?
fucking love how it goes.
Do it the other way around. You're checking out as soon as they've gone through like the 7th ending.
I love the Hobbit films. I like them more than Lord of the Rings. I will I will argue this point down all
me-
day. You know why? No Tom Bombadil. Never in any of the Lord of the Rings movies. I love Tom Bombadil. He's my
Yeah, but
favorite character in the book. He is not in any of the Lord of the Rings movies.
he's not in The Hobbit either.
Yeah, but he's also not in the Hobbit books.
Yeah, okay, but like,
So-
so it's the only character you like in the books, Tom Bombadil.
No, but he's, in my opinion, the best character in the books. He's my favorite character in the Lord of the Rings books, and he's not in the movies or in the extended cuts.
So for nostalgic reasons only, my favorite Hobbit was the animated in, I think it was the early 80s, late 70s, hands down.
Yes, that was fantastic. I saw
I've
that.
never watched it. I've never seen it.
Same. Never watched it.
It's
Oh,
very
I'm gonna
good.
have to.
So there were other ones they did, and I don't remember watching the other ones, but they did, I think, Lord of the Rings and one other one. The Hobbit is the only one I ever remember seeing, with the very creepy, cartoony, again, because it was cartoon, Gollum in the My Precious and everything. The other one, and I can't remember if it was done by Ralph Bashki or not, but if you've not seen it, I highly recommend. It's really trippy. It's definitely 70s-ish. It is called Wizards, and it's an animated film. It is
Oh.
different.
Have you seen?
It's like an acid trip, but it's good.
I gotta say, you gotta go on Vimeo sometimes and just check out the independent filmmakers that are there, because sometimes you get a decent acid trip in like 5 minutes there. So
Okay, cool.
Have you
That's a
seen
recommendation.
the Ballad of Bilbo Baggins by Leonard Nimoy?
Yes, I love that. Have you guys heard that?
no, I haven't.
Oh my god, it's so good.
Wrote a song about Bilbo Baggins.
Wow.
Bilbo
Bilbo
Baggins.
Baggins.
I think I've heard the song.
Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, Bilbo.
Bilbo.
Yeah, it is unreal. That is a song and a half. But yeah, check it out. I'll try to find the link later. Okay, guys. So a couple of things. One, I always forget that I put like stuff in the title of the episodes, and then we never talk about it until the end. But apparently, there is some casting news for Superman Legacy. Nicholas Hoult is likely to be playing Lex Luthor. What's the reaction to that? Likely, they haven't announced it though.
Who's him?
Nicholas Hoult, he played Beast in the more recent X-Men films. I think I'm right in saying that he was in, what was that Dracula film with Nick Cage? He played, what was it called? He played the main character.
Rensfield or something?
Renfield. Yeah, I think he played Renfield.
Okay.
Yeah, so that guy.
Yeah, I'd like to see him be Lex Luthor. I think Lex Luthor has some actual, some reasoning behind his madness. You know, like he could be a compelling bad guy.
Well, we're not casting Jesse Eisenberg again.
No, like he did The Social Network, and then they cast him to play Mark Zuckerberg as Lex Luthor. It was the exact same portrayal. Exact same portrayal.
He's typecast
Also,
now.
he was the same character in Now You See Me and Now You See Me Too. He was just the same dude.
Well, I don't like the thing is, I know people like some people don't like him, and I know others highly rate him. But even when you watch Zombieland, he still comes across exactly the same.
Yeah, like neurotic and just
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
Yeah.
We call that consistency on this side of the pond.
maybe it's the wrong kind of consistency in some cases, you know. But at least he's consistent, you know. Rule number one: cardio.
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay, so but yeah, like this article I've got here, it's on like Comic Book Movie. I'll bring it up for a second, but you know it's a bit small to read. But they're saying so. It's the headline is such clickbait. It says Superman Legacy, at least 4 more major characters are about to be filled. So you're like, oh, who are the 4 characters they're bringing in? And so they say Nicholas Hoult is a lock for Lex Luthor. And then it says that they're gonna cast someone as Perry White, and they're also James Gunn is on the hunt for Ma and Pa Kent. And it's like that's the 4 characters in a Superman movie: Ma and Pa Kent, Lex Luthor, and Perry White. It's like that isn't news. This isn't news at all. The only piece of news there is if Nicholas Hoult plays the role.
I love that Ma and Pa Kent. They don't have like first names. They're just like, hey Ma, Kent.
Martha.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, well, they already made that mistake one time, and I paid good U.S. American dollars to go see that movie in the theater.
So going back to Jesse Eisenberg, one movie I don't know if you've seen it or not. I think it was on Netflix. Is Vivarium that he was in? It's pretty good. It's a really trippy sort of movie as well.
Check it out.
About this couple that buys a house in this neighborhood and it goes bonkers from there.
Have you guys
He's hit and miss with me, but overall I like him. I think he's pretty good.
on the topic of movies with houses that are things called bonkers? Have you guys seen the new Disney Haunted Mansion?
Yes.
Sorry, I've seen what?
The new live action Disney Haunted Mansion.
No, I've not. Is it good?
So I love Disney. The Haunted Mansion happens to be my favorite ride at Disney. And I was like, oh, this is worth an afternoon. And after I was done watching it, I was like, no, it wasn't. I want my 2 hours back. Fortunately, I'm subscribed to Disney Plus. So it was just me just using my Disney Plus account. But if I would have paid money and gone to a movie theater to see it, I would have been super angry.
Yeah.
Well, I gotta get out, guys. I'll see you later.
Take
Thanks
care.
for having me. Thanks for having us,
Bye.
David.
I thought
Okay.
it was an okay average movie. I mean, it
Yeah,
wasn't
it was,
stellar. It wasn't horrible.
It was exactly. I would say like a 6, maybe.
Yeah.
On a 10 scale.
Guys, so in the States, as you've referenced a couple of times, it's going to be Thanksgiving. Have you guys seen there's a movie called Thanksgiving? Have you seen it?
Nope.
You haven't seen it? Oh my God. I saw this film. And so I was like, wow, it makes so much sense. There's a horror film called Halloween. Now there's a horror film called Thanksgiving.
My favorite horror film, my favorite Thanksgiving-based horror film is a movie called Thanksgiving, which this is real. I wish I was making this up.
I'm going to look it up.
So the premise is a serial killer possesses the body of a dead turkey and goes on a killing spree.
Oh my God.
I didn't know the premise of it, but I knew it had a killer turkey in it. So basically Child's Play for Thanksgiving.
Yes, it is. And it is exactly.
Yes, there it is.
That is a good puppet.
Uh-huh.
It is as bad as you want it to be, and you're like, I must watch this every year on Thanksgiving.
Wow. I think there's a sequel, actually. But yeah, so Thanksgiving, guys.
Mm-hmm.
It's... Do you remember that there was 20 odd years ago, there was a double bill, Grindhouse, a couple of films. What was it? Death Proof and what was the other one?
Yeah,
Grindhouse.
sorry. Death Proof and Grindhouse.
No, but they were both called Grindhouse. There was another one, Planet Terror or something like this. It was
I think you're right.
That's what it was.
Well, there were fake trailers. Do you remember about these? They were when you watch this double bill of films, there were fake trailers. And the fake trailers, one of them became Machete, which was was a film that they later put out. Another one with Rutger Hauer in was Hobo with a Shotgun.
That one there was a movie too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Well, that's what Thanksgiving is. Thanksgiving was a fake trailer directed by Eli Roth 20 odd years ago. And now Eli Roth has turned it into a full-length film.
All right.
And the weird thing about it is when I first started watching it, I won't give major spoilers, but...
Oh, because we know we're all going to watch this right after this.
It's not the worst thing in the world. It wasn't the worst thing. It was a bit of a mishmash, and I had to work out why it was a bit of a mishmash, because when I saw it, I didn't know that it was based on one of these fake trailers. But when I read it, I was like, okay, so it's at least the third fake trailer to become a movie. But there's some stuff in it which is ridiculously over the top. And it doesn't fit quite with everything else in the rest of the movie. And what I realized is I went back and I watched the fake trailer. And the fake trailer has got all of these over the top scenes of, I don't know, like I won't give the spoilers, but if you see the fake trailer for Thanksgiving, it all fits the Thanksgiving theme, but it's turned into, well, how can we turn this into a cool murder or something like this with a serial killer? All of those actually happen in the film that they made 20 years later. They literally recreated the stuff that had no context to it in this original fake trailer, and then they worked out, well, what is a film that could have all of these moments in it? And all of these moments are so over the top that they're jarring. Whereas the rest of the film could have been, was okay. It could have been really good, but I felt like it was a kind of a letdown. And in the similar sense that Halloween and all this kind of stuff, I'm sure they're going to try to turn this into a franchise. No, that's no big spoiler. It just feels like the kind of thing. They have a masked killer, and he's wearing like a pilgrim mask, and he's got like a hat on, and an axe and stuff. And it's like, okay, so let me bring up like a Thanksgiving movie. But I thought it was worth seeing, but I didn't think it was the best thing in the world that I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. It could have been better. They shouldn't have tried to honor the fake trailer that it came from. So, like, you can see there, like, the pilgrim mask or whatever that someone's wearing.
Interesting.
But, yeah. I saw that, and then I saw another thing, which, have you seen Killers of the Flower Moon, or something like this it's called?
Heard of it, but I've not seen it yet. It's
a Martin Scorsese movie. Mm-hmm. And it stars Robert De Niro and Leonardo DiCaprio. It's a good film, and it's really well made, as you'd expect, with De Niro and DiCaprio and Martin Scorsese. And Martin Scorsese involved, right? It's like expertly made, and they probably filmed it over like 10 months or something like this to make every shot and every scene like really well produced. But it's about 3.5 hours long. It's an incredibly long film. And the first 40 odd minutes of it, I was genuinely wondering, is like, can I sit through this? Just because I didn't think it was doing a lot of establishing stuff, which by the time you get to hour 2 and 3, is really worth it. But I didn't know it was 3.5 hours when I went to watch it. And so I was just like thinking, when is this going to get going? And everything was relevant. But I was thinking, if this is a 2-hour film, it's like nothing's happened in the first hour. But it's really good. And it's based on a true story. Do you know anything about what it is?
It's something with a Native American murders or genocide. I can't remember exactly. Yeah, I guess it's based off of a book.
Now, yeah, it is. So without going into huge spoilers of it, basically, Robert De Niro plays the uncle of Leonardo DiCaprio. And he's like, I'm quite a rich and powerful person, but there's this Native American community and they've got oil on their land. If you can marry one of them, then we'll, get a right to the oil. But along the way, we're going to kill them all off. And that is basically the premise of it. If it wasn't a true story, you could take that same idea and turn it into a comedy. Like, it's almost a bit like The Producers, where it's like, well, if we have a flop, well, if you get married, and kill them all. But yeah, it's a true story. And I was looking up about the stuff to do with it. And because when I was watching it, I didn't know it was a true story. But just as I was watching it, I sort of figured this has to be a true story for some of the choices that they made. But genuinely a really good film, really well-produced film.
What is it called again?
Killers of the Flower Moon, or something to that effect. I kind of
right.
forget. Yeah. So, guys, is there other things that you've seen, or trailers, stuff to react to?
I haven't seen it yet, but just to play off the Thanksgiving horror movie that you mentioned, there is one for the States. I believe it's on Hulu. It's called Slother. What is it called? It's basically a killer sloth. I can't remember the name of the dumb thing. I have to look it up. But yeah, it looks promising, if nothing else.
Okay, so Slother.
Like Slotherfest or something like that.
Slotherfest.
That might be right. Slaughterhouse. Sorry, there we go.
Slaughterhouse.
Slaughter.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Have a look here. Wait, Slaughterhouse, not Slaughterhouse. I don't think I can risk bringing this up as a. Okay.
Yeah. And it sounds like it's a little bit more along the lines of Thanksgiving.
Yeah. I'm not sure if this is the right trailer, so I'm not going to bring it up in case it's because half of the things that came up there were literally just slaughterhouses. Which may not be quite the right tone that we're going for here on the show.
No.
But okay, so one of the other like headlines that I saw of interest was they're going to make Toy Story 5. And Tim Allen apparently is saying about whether he's going to come back because obviously they ditched him for Chris Evans being the voice of Buzz Lightyear in Lightyear, and that film completely bombed. So
also, like, isn't Tom Hanks' brother the voice of Buzz now? Or
no, you mean Woody?
Yeah, that's what I meant.
No, not as far as I know. I know that Tom Hanks' brother voices Woody for like the action figures and stuff like this.
Right.
So like there's a famous clip where Tom Hanks is being interviewed and they bring a toy up and they pull it and it goes, "There's a snake in my boots." And the guy interviewing him is like in the UK, he's like he lives here, a guy called Graham Norton. He's like, "Now that isn't you, is it?" And Tom Hanks goes, "No, that's my brother Colin," or whatever, that may be his son's name, whatever.
I love Graham Norton. I watch him on BBC a couple nights a week.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay,
So
cool. Go on, Joe.
Did either of you see Lightyear?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I guess, so to me, like a lot of the, I don't know, I guess the bad publicity and stuff came out mostly was because I think Disney, Pixar, whomever did a piss poor job of. Well, they did a piss poor job of advertising it because I mean, I, like most other people, thought that this is the story of Buzz Lightyear the toy, but what it actually is about Buzz Lightyear the character, who is later becomes the toy, and that's why the voice wasn't Tim Allen and it was Chris Evans.
To me, that never made any sense as their justification. It was just that they wanted to replace. That was to me like a poor justification for we're replacing this guy because Tim Allen, you think, other than Toy Story, like he was on Home Improvement, he did Galaxy Quest, but he's not really.
He was in the Santa Claus.
Yeah.
Oh, the Santa Claus. That's his literally.
He was also in. Oh shit! What is the name of that movie with Christy Alley? Where something Amish.
Oh, I know which one you're talking about.
It was a terrible fucking movie, but
there
damn it, he was in it.
So they were obviously like, well, look, we're just gonna have Captain America in it. We'll like do that sort of thing, and I think that gave such a negative taste in a lot of people.
It's a palatable.
It's what?
And so here literally is the quote from Tim Allen. He says, "Bob Iger, head of Disney, said it was on Toy Story 5, that is, and actually said it was going to happen. They have reached out to Tom Hanks and I to reprise the roles. They're not saying anything about it. You wonder if 4 was too many. Is 5 going to be too much?" I mean, that he doesn't sound like he particularly wants to do it. If you start saying, was the 4th one too many?
Look, 4th one is Shining. The 4th one is The Shining all over again.
The Shining?
Yep.
What do you mean?
The 4th one is basically The Shining.
Is it?
Yeah.
How? They're at like a theme park or something, right?
Yeah, but the part where there's a particular section where they're in the toy store, in the antique store, and it's like
they're trying to make them part of the toy store or whatnot, and
right, and the carpet is the same, and the little girl is like
the two little dolls. Yeah. Yep.
There's a whole bunch of parallels. I forgot where I saw a great YouTube clip about it, and I'm like, yeah, I buy that. Like, I will. I will buy that and I will sell that as well. You know, I
Yeah.
thought it was
Well,
really.
I think it's interesting that Tim Allen's talking about that 5 is too many, because I swear that when 4 came out that they were saying that it's sort of jumped the shark, and this was
So,
when I guess when it was announced before it actually
I
came
didn't
out,
like
that
4.
they're like
I
too
really,
I
much.
don't like,
really
I thought it
didn't
was
like.
okay.
like I have not seen 4 since it came out in the movies.
For me,
4 was the one with Sporky, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
no.
I
Wasn't
thought it
that,
was
yes,
was
it
okay.
that
was.
4? Oh, yeah, it was. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Okay,
thought it
right.
was
But
okay.
Also,
for
Sporky
me,
is the stupidest Disney character since Clarabelle Cow.
wow. But
And
like,
you
It's
know when
Plippy
Clarabelle
from
Cow came
Microsoft.
out? In the 60s.
but like for me, Toy Story, I think like 3 was really good. The scene where they're all facing the fiery pit, that's really, it's this emotional scene in a kids movie. But I say this like every time we talk about Pixar, they forget that they're supposed to be making kids films.
Mhm.
And
I mean, look, I
having
cried just
having
in the
Andy
10
grow
minutes.
up,
Sorry.
having
Yeah.
Andy grow up to me is like the biggest mistake. No one actually, I don't think anyone wanted to see that.
Mhm.
Like, no kid watching Toy Story 3 was like, oh, who's he going to college? And oh, now there's a little girl that, probably doesn't really care about the cowboy toy and the Space Ranger. And guess what? In the 4th one, they're just dumped in a cupboard because the kid didn't care about them. It's like, just
Well,
this is why
yeah,
Maggie Simpson always needs to be a baby. This is why Bart always needs to be 10 years old. You
yeah.
kind of don't want to see these characters grow up.
Here's what I want. Instead of a Toy Story 5, I want a Wally 2 and I want Incredibles 3.
Ew, not Incredibles. I didn't like that.
You're
Yeah, I
allowed to
didn't
be
care for the
wrong.
second one.
I get you.
Look,
But
give me
I want a
a
Wally
Bug's
2.
Life too. A Bug's Life too. I'll
Yeah,
take that.
I'll
Oh,
go
that
for
would
that.
also be cool.
And I wouldn't mind a Finding Nemo 3.
Yeah, but the Dory getting lost jokes are getting really old.
Wow. Just keep swimming,
Also, Ellen right now is super problematic for other
Yeah.
things.
Oh, really? I don't know anything about, like,
Well, her show ended because people on the staff and
oh,
stuff claimed that
yeah.
she was just abusive and everything.
Yeah. So it's really hard to have the second best character or the second banana in the
Recast.
ship.
Yeah.
I'd recast Dory. Like, what's Ezra Miller doing nowadays? That's,
Yeah. The what was I going to say? There was something about
Mary.
I lost it. No, it wasn't that. There's something about Mary too? No.
That would be
Just
good.
shut up,
That I
Mary.
would see.
You don't know?
So, I genuinely used to think like There's Something About Mary was just about the funniest comedy I've ever seen.
That movie was
Mhm.
so
It was pretty
when
good.
I went to see it in the movies, I was actually I was talking to some friends of mine. They're like, "Yeah, I went to see it again the next day because there were jokes that were so the jokes were so good that you could like by the time everybody was done laughing, they had missed 2 punchlines because of the laughter in the theater."
I remember what it was. Toy Story. I think that I agree with you that it should have been focused and kept on the kids not growing up, or at least growing up slightly, but not becoming like adults and whatnot. But I think what they did is the writers or whatnot tried to follow the path of the ages of people that would be when they first watched the first one.
Yeah.
So if you were, 6 or 8 years old or 10 years old, now you're, in your mid to late 20s or whatever by the time that the fourth one comes around. So I can sort of kind of see it, but I completely agree with you. Pixar, they're sort of really struggling with. I mean, again, their main target audience, right, wrong, or different, is children, but their stories have gotten a lot, I guess, darker and more adult in many
Yeah.
senses, from what they were before. I mean, you can still sort of have fun with some of them, but a lot of the dynamics, like from what was the most recent one, Elemental, that came out, I could see visually that it would be appealing to very young kids, but there's like a gap in the middle of kids that can sort of understand and see the story, and then more of like a late teen or maybe even like college age and older crowd. So I think maybe they have to go and sort of either revisit how they're putting those stories together so that they can still have that, two different places like Wall-E. I mean, to me, that one just blew me away. When I had heard about it, I'm like, this movie is going to suck. It's just going to be horrible. And
Oh
it
my
is one
god,
of
it's
my favorite
beautiful.
movies ever.
It's
Just
it's like
because, yeah.
Wall-E's on my top 5 all-time list, and it has been since I first saw it.
Yeah. When I first heard about it, there was like little to no dialogue, and it was about a robot. I'm like, okay, it's just gonna be horrible. But
And then
it's
Wall-E
extremely
says,
touching and powerful.
and then Wally says Eva, and you're like,
Eva.
oh, you're
No,
like,
I do really like.
you're
Okay.
like, my heart grew 3 times bigger, like the Grinch.
But it's almost like they have to have like
Yeah.
a kid-oriented one or whatnot, and then almost one where they do that sort of divergent thing,
So
of
here's
more
my
adult,
question.
sort of tailored.
Here's my question. I don't know if I've asked you guys this before. Have you guys heard of the Pixar theory?
The what?
The Pixar
Pixar
theory.
That it's all
There's
tied
one.
together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of that? Like, look, as somebody who loves like comic books and stuff, I want to believe that, but at the same time, like John Lasseter and the Pixar folks are like, yeah, no.
I think it's interesting. I mean, to me, it's like a lot of these other movie theories that come up. What was the one that the killer from some movie?
The killer from Saw is Kevin
Oh, Saw.
McAllister
Yes. Yeah.
from Home
Which
Alone.
again is
What?
which is entertaining. Yeah.
I'm like, that made me
Wait,
laugh.
the killer from Saw what?
Jigsaw
Killer from
Saw is Kevin McAllister from Home Alone, grown up.
I have heard something to that effect. Yeah.
And then the other one I really like too is as well as the Pixar one, but the other one I really like is Darth Jar Jar.
Yeah, which I've actually, did I discuss that one here? So Darth Jar Jar says that Jar Jar Binks was supposed to be a Sith Lord, but because of all the hatred that they gave him in episode 1, they're like, no, we're not going to do this.
Because like and they equate it to like his how he sort of is successful in spite of just being a fool, and it's like what is it, the drunken master
The
type
Drunken
thing,
Master.
and that he's actually the one pulling the strings over Palpatine instead of Palpatine being the one that's sort of controlling and enforcing everything. And he's such a fool that nobody would ever believe that he was the brains behind it. But those are 3 that I like, even if they're not remotely true. I think it's entertaining, and it's very interesting that somebody came up with that, because there's no way I ever would have come up with any of those.
Yeah,
there's a new Pixar film out this week, isn't there? Is that Wish? Is that Pixar or is that just Disney? Like,
I think it's Pixar.
Yeah. I'm probably going to see it just because I've done this thing where I've got this ticket that will let me go and see as many films as I want. And already it feels too much of a burden. I'm regretting it just because it's like I can go and see all of these films.
With great power comes great responsibility.
Well, exactly. Like I ended up driving to a different town to see this flowers killing moon thing, and it was good. But I was like, oh my god, this it was such a time commitment. I was just like, I don't have enough time as it is already, And just because when I went to see the Marvels, I was like, well, for £2 more, it was like I could see films for an entire month.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, let's do it. And then the thing that dawned on me is there is a bunch of stuff to see, but there's no movies coming out because of the writer's strike and the actors' strike. So in the run up to Christmas, I've got the choice of going to see Love Actually or Gremlins. And I already know that I am going to go and watch Gremlins in the cinema. And that's going to be the best film this year.
Love Actually is brilliant, though.
That's a long film. Have you seen the director's cut of it? It's a long film. It's a comedy, and there are 45 minutes of added scenes.
Holy shit! Now I want to watch the director's cut of Love Actually.
Yeah, that's a really long film.
You're not talking me out of it, Dave. Unfortunately, you're like, oh, more of Alan Rickman, whom I love.
Is it just?
I'll watch more of Love Actually, but you have to watch the entire 24 hours of The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings.
in one setting, or can I watch it in like 10 years?
No, you've got to watch it. If you're saying I have to watch Love Actually in one sitting, then you have to watch the entire Tolkien.
Fine, and Gerald has to watch all of Harry Potter in one sitting.
That's not a bad deal. Not a bad deal. Although there's like 8 of those films.
Yeah. But it's
about
23
16
hours
to
and
20
59
hours.
minutes worth of content.
Oh,
okay.
The Harry Potter ones are almost 24 hours.
Almost 24 hours. I know that because I did it with my niece in like 2 days.
Wow.
Okay, so here's an interesting news story. Christopher Columbus talks about Mrs. Doubtfire, and apparently there is
Christopher Columbus died like hundreds of years ago.
Sorry,
I thought Christopher Columbus died hundreds of years ago.
I think you meant Chris Columbus.
Same difference, right? So, what is Chris short for? Is Christopher, right? Why have I gone blurry? Come back.
There you go.
Because you're talking about Christopher Columbus, who's been dead for 1,200 years.
Oh, I'm using the wrong camera. Right. Anyway, so it says here that Chris Colombo, said that he could make a hard R cut of the movie because of Robin Williams improvising in it. And he says that early in the process, Robin Williams went to me and says, "Hey boss, the way I like to work, if you're up for it, I'll give you 3 or 4 scripted takes and then let's play." He wanted to improvise, and that's exactly how we shot every scene. He would say exactly what was scripted, and then he would go off, and it was something to behold. I want to see that version. I want to see that version.
One of my favorite stories that Robin Williams said in Inside the Actors Studio about Mrs. Doubtfire was he was walking around New York after day of shooting, and he was still wearing the mask and like women's clothes, and he's walking to his hotel, and there's like a sex shop that he passes by, and in full Mrs. Doubtfire regalia walks in and says, "Excuse me, lad, can I see the black one in the back?"
Okay, listen to this on the same story. He says that the script supervisor, hang on one second. We'd go to the script supervisor and ask her, and sometimes she didn't even get it all written down. He would literally give us a completely different take every time. In the end, we shot the whole movie with 4 cameras to keep up with Williams, along the way also capturing the other actors' reactions to what they were seeing. We shot almost 2 million feet of film on that picture.
Wow.
That's insane.
There's 40 hours of Aladdin that will never be seen.
40?
Have you heard about that recently?
Hours of Aladdin.
Have you heard about that recently, though?
No.
Robin Williams famously didn't want them to reuse any of his stuff after his death. They have, like a month or 2 ago. There was some Disney thing, and they went to like his family, his estate, and says, "Oh, this iconic character, can we use this line?" And so it's only 1 or 2 lines, but they included and they did use some new takes of Robin Williams playing Genie.
Also, there's a theory that Genie, going back to movie theories, Robin Williams, that the Genie is the peddler
I think that's been confirmed.
In the
not
beginning
just a
of the
theory.
movie.
Yep. I think that's been confirmed.
And the reason why is because Robin Williams plays both the voice of the peddler and the voice of the Genie. And I'm like, that's a super weak. Like, your proof is, I'll give it to you, but your proof is weak.
Yeah. Okay, right. Anything else you guys want to react to and stuff? Like, we'll probably have another like Geek Battle tomorrow, so we don't have to keep this one going for all time, because I think there's going to be some like more stuff. Like Loki is finished. Is there anything that's like, what are we missing here today, guys, that we haven't covered? I mean, the
Um,
Marvels is still it's literally flopped. Like Disney are losing like 200 or 300 million on this now. There's no new Star Wars. Like Aquaman's out in a few weeks, and like I said, I've got this movie ticket, so I will be seeing it.
So since you have this movie ticket, have you been seeing previews in the theaters? Because I have seen zero advertisements or marketing for it thus far.
I did see one trailer for Aquaman too. So
Hmm. It'll be
but yeah,
interesting.
I think I think they've given up. Like DC with Flash, they pushed it so hard and it flopped so badly. Blue
Look,
Beetle, I don't know how much they tried, but it flopped so badly. I think they're just like, we'll just stick it out there, and they're in such an interesting position because there's been all these strikes and that. So Aquaman, the first one did $1 billion. It could be that there is no competition,
Yeah.
and that people go and see it, or it could just be, well, we have to release something. I almost wish the writers and actors strike would go on a bit longer, so they're like, okay, we will release Batwoman or Batgirl or whatever it was. Because if you got films that you're not releasing and there's nothing at the cinema, put it out.
Mhm.
look, I would like for DC to go back to doing animated shows. Like I recently rewatched Green Lantern. I love all their animated stuff. Batman, the animated series, is in my top 5 list of cartoons on the all time list, right up there with Ren and Stimpy and Beavis and Butthead. I know they're different genres, but they're 90s cartoons. Even the Superman cartoon was actually decent. The
So
first episode is Superman the movie, done in a 47-minute animated format, and is
Wow.
great.
when you say do animation, are you talking more about
Like the animated series, like
yeah, okay. Because I was
Batman
gonna
Beyond, the Green
yeah,
Lantern Corps, whatever
because
else.
like
The Superman show, JLU,
the
fucking
standalone movies, they have a new one that came out and I cannot remember. It's like War something or another. And it's out in the States, it's out on HBO Max.
yeah.
I
I've
haven't
been meaning
watched it
to
yet,
watch
but it
this. Any
looks
good?
good. And I think again, like their animated series, they've like the series, the Batman animated one, hands down one of the best ever. And
Yeah, I can't tell you like it. You only have it as your background on your on your green screen.
yeah, and but the movie ones that they've put out too, and they've just, as far as I know, they've all been direct to video or direct to streaming, are absolutely incredible. And they did some of the ones that they probably would never do as a feature film, like they did a Killing Joke as a
Oh my god!
two-parter. They did the Long Halloween. I mean, they're absolutely fantastic.
I went to see one of my local theaters did a Killing Joke in the movies. It
Cool.
was fucking fantastic.
Yep.
And I was like, this is super enjoyable. Sorry for the profanity.
It's okay.
I'm trying not to swear in general.
Well, and I know, David, you didn't care for Peacemaker, but I thought Peacemaker was a good live action show that they did. The other one that they have that's live action is Doom Patrol, and it's really good too.
I
I've
like
not
Doom
seen
Patrol.
that.
I
I've
started
never
watching
seen
that
that.
recently.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's definitely a very weird. It's a good show, but it does not. Again, it doesn't. It's not widely. Um, it's more of a niche type group because they're just
Yeah.
like super weird heroes. It's a little bit like, not quite, but it's sort of like Mystery Men.
Okay.
In that it's these heroes that have somewhat sort of odd powers, and they're just sort of like a collection of.
Well, this is. I mean, I know it's not Doom Patrol, but like, what was it like? That James Gunn announced. It was like Creature Comforts or something like this. Like there was a show that was just like James Gunn's DCU. Let's have a look. So, what was it? Creature Commandos. And that looks like it's just like the bunch of weirdo things. I mean, according to this, the movies on the DCU slate are Superman Legacy, The Authority, The Brave and the Bold, Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, and Swamp Thing. Now, other than I've heard of Swamp Thing, and obviously Superman and Supergirl, but The Authority and The Brave and the Bold, I have no idea what that is.
So the Authority was, I believe, and I could be wrong on this, I think it came over from so Jim Lee, who is one of the artists that split off from Marvel and helped create Image Comics. He created a group called Wildstorm, and I don't know, within the last 20 years, he sold to DC. I think it's a character, or it's a like a team.
The Brave and the Bold is Batman.
I
It's
think
a
so.
Batman.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a Batman variant.
But yeah, the Authority, and I cannot remember who the author or the writer is that did it, but it's a well-known good writer for comics. So that could be interesting, but again, it's not their iconic, main character thing. So it could do well or it could flop. It will be interesting to see how that goes. But yeah, to Nick's point, I think the Brave and the Bold has to be something with Batman. That's the only thing that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Right, guys. On this note, let's begin to wrap things up here. Like, people can make it. We'll do a follow-up Geek Battle tomorrow. For me, it is 11:30 at night. I can feel that I am Rick flagging it. But Nick, where can the people find you?
And Stev on Twitter, right there.
Okay. Gerald, where can the people find you?
Instagram at Gerald Geek right there.
Other side.
Other side, yeah. It's like a weird
No,
mirror.
on mine it shows that way.
Yeah, but
now I know it's the opposite
on
side.
mine, it's the other one. Yeah. And me,
Right.
I'm Dave Stansky. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Dave Stansky. Check out all things Extreme Improv, Geek Battle, and all the rest. And I'll perhaps speak about this more tomorrow, guys. I didn't cover any video game related stuff, but I've just had a couple of videos that I put out reviewing the Atari 2600 Plus and the new game that's come out on it, a new Atari game, Mr. Run and Jump. That's quite a good game. And also the long fabled Intellivision Amico is finally out, which, if you don't know the story of that, it's a retro-inspired video game console that was meant to come out about 6 years ago, and they've only just put out a version of it. But instead of it being a console, it's just an app you get on your Android phone. It's a heck of a story. But I'll talk about all of that and so much more when we return for more Geek Battle tomorrow. So from me, from Nick, from Gerald, speaking on you guys' behalf, stay safe, always stay extreme, live long and prosper, and ciao for now. Boom. And we're off the air.